Happy Monday. Welcome to the Scoop World Order. I hope that you guys that weren't with us yesterday had a great Father's Day weekend. I hope that you dads enjoyed some time with your folks and you guys were able to enjoy yourselves a little bit. I hope you guys got everything that you want. We had a great show last night. We appreciate all you guys that jumped on with us. It was a monster. Great doubleheader of action on Sundays with Funky and B. Moses leading into our 7 o'clock show at 6. They did a great job. So appreciate you guys tuning into that. The Michigan letter is something that we wanted to revisit. And this is something that I thought was very interesting, very timely. And it really sheds the light on what was the beginning of this NCAA investigation. As we've got, less than 90 days before this will be spelled out. And they're going to get whacked severely with the hammer. And we're really excited about that. So we're going to get into all that as always. Again, we are racing to 40,000 YouTube subscribers. So again, we've had this call to action, super easy to do, super quick to do. It's free. It's an easy way for you guys to all help us. Just subscribe to the YouTube channel. You guys already love the content, so we appreciate all that, all of the likes. So make sure you guys leave us a like and click subscribe to the channel, along with the alert bell. Generally going around 7:10 every night. It's been pretty consistent, so you guys know where to find us. But again, we appreciate you guys that do that. Also give us a follow on Apple Podcasts. Those are the two formats we're really focused on this quarter, and we just appreciate you guys for all that you guys do. Again, our community is second to none. Our message board is second to none. We work when other guys take days off, and it's really exciting to see the direction of Buckeye Scoop because it's a rocket ship at this point, and we're just really proud of what we've built. The Scoop family is amazing. Shout out to our moderators, led by Sean, Steely, Devin, all you guys, Kim, Karis, Beth. Again, I appreciate all you guys keeping the chat nice and clean. As always, I appreciate you guys making this place what it is, because there's nothing like this. It's a phenomenon. We're just very thankful for you. Nevada, real quick before we get into this, we are in this dogged mindset to get to 40,000 subscribers. Did I leave anything out on our YouTube, Chase?
No, just hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out. Send it to other people. That really helps us. Any like-minded folks that like Ohio State, or the Buckeye fans or Ohio State sports fans, because we're gonna get there. We're gonna get to 40,000. Just a matter of how quickly we get there, how quickly we have the 40,000 sub party. That's probably got to be an in-person event. We should do that. We should do some sort of an in-person. Maybe our next meetup is around the 40,000 subscribers. So the quicker we get to 40,000, the next time we'll have a meeting. And if you wear your Buckeye Scoop gear, we'll buy you a free beer. And we might even open up the store again, because we've gotten a lot of comments from people going, I missed this. Can you please reopen the store again? And Kirk and I are talking, we're like, we really don't want to open the store again, but I think we're going to, just because we've been hit by so many folks want this gear, especially quality drop. But yes, if you can help us out, subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. That's free, and lots of free stuff, lots of great content, and you're really helping us out. So thank you.
Yeah, and if you guys got your gear and you guys are on X, aka Twitter, post it and tag at Buckeye Scoop. We'll retweet it, because I've gotten text messages, emails of people rocking the gear. My mom bought a ton of gear. I've got my stuff. It got shipped today. It's coming. I'm going to be wearing my national championship hoodie again, because the national championship hoodie looks amazing. It's got gold flake on the paint. Can't beat it. So you guys are going to see me wearing that as soon as I get it on the show. And then I know once people see it, they're really going to want it, because it looks just spectacular. And our print shop did a great job. They're really aggressive about timelines of getting the stuff printed and getting it out. So again, I'm just very thankful that we've got such a great partner there. But Nevada, we wanted to talk about, and again, I can click over to it, this notice of discipline for Michigan. This is kind of what spawned everything. And this is a letter that was sent by Tony Petitti to Ward Manuel. And it's from November 10th, about a year and a half ago or so. But let's talk a little bit about this, because, when you read the verbiage from Tony Petitti, who, again, I think that he is razor sharp. Again, it's weird how, we're going from Kevin Warren, who I thought was the worst commissioner maybe in sports history, to a guy that I think is really sharp. And this guy was very pointed with Ward Manuel and very aggressive with Ward Manuel, because the conduct is very unbecoming and embarrassing for the Big Ten that a member institution would do this against other member institutions. And, Tony Petitti was a new commissioner, and he heard from the athletic directors, he heard from the coaches, private calls where basically every school was included except for Michigan that were very aggressive. And we've got a lot of intel on that. But talk a little bit about this letter, because again, this is not for the faint of heart. And I can imagine being the athletic director and having this overnighted, to my office and opening this thing up and reading it, because it is very, very aggressive by Tony Petitti, but it's very accurate. I think it's a really well done, laid out case as to why Michigan is about to get the hammer.
Well, what's interesting is that there's just so many people that are unfamiliar with this letter, and still you reference the fact that it was sent, almost 18 months ago. It really was the foundational piece for this entire case. But when we were talking about the show, it struck me how many people are unfamiliar with the contents, or they might have like a fleeting. Oh yeah, wasn't there some sort of a letter? I mean, this letter, first of all, you have to remember this letter was sent out in the middle of a football season, citing the fact that the NCAA had contacted the Big about an ongoing cheating scandal involving Michigan. And we're basically, letting the Big Ten know that, they were, here's the information. They're free to take some sort of a preemptive action, despite the fact that they hadn't completed their full investigation, but just with what they had so far, here's what it was. Tony Petitti took the extraordinary action of assigning a designation as a major penalty, went to the executive committee, got the max penalty that he could under the bylaws for Jim Harbaugh at the time, which was a 3-game suspension, gave that to him in season, and laid out why. He talked about some of the stuff that struck me in the letter was he talked about how while winning's important, the integrity of the game really is the whole purpose of the game. It's the reason for collegiate sports is integrity and sportsmanship and competition, and that this scheme went at all those things. It went after the integrity of the game. It violated the sportsmanship clause in the Big Ten bylaws, and while it put winning for Michigan above all else. And I thought he put it so eloquently, and it was interesting because when this letter first came out, a lot of people were like, "Oh, this is nothing. Oh, Michigan got away with nothing." And it's like, man, this talks about incontrovertible evidence. No one can prove the existence of this scheme. Lays out the 54 games, the names of the people that went to the games, the signs stolen from the games, the indication of whether they need to go to these games in the future based upon wins or losses. I mean, this was really it was kind of the Rosetta Stone of this entire thing. So if you're a fan and don't remember or you haven't familiarized yourself with it, it's all online. We've got it online. It's really easy to Google and to check it out. But it's one of the more remarkable things that I've ever read. And I mean, Tony Petitti talks, I'll give some of the quotes he talks about, but he talks about um, they're unmoved by the university's attempts to downplay the impermissible conduct. Um, because Michigan's basically telling them that other schools do this and that how they're unmoved by that. Um, they found it credible that impermissible advanced scouting increases the risk of injury to student athletes. And they talk about how the NCAA president took an extraordinary measure of contacting them in the middle of the season for them to assign discipline to them this year and try to prevent the cheating scandal from continuing this year. I mean, it's one of the more remarkable things that I've ever read. And as you're seeing this thing get closer and closer, yeah, you can feel you can kind of feel if people thought that Michigan was going to skate, you would kind of feel the momentum building that way. You kind of feel the momentum building that way. It's not building that way. I'm telling it's going exactly the opposite way. The expectations are being raised, and not by us. Kirk and I are a little blip in the entire sea of the NCAA and the world of punishment for Michigan on this thing. But I'm telling you, the tide's going out for Michigan on this one, because I think that the general opinion of people in the know, that are people that are following this, that are people that are doing this, is that Michigan's about to get hit hard. And I think that when you go back and read this letter, and when you read the stuff, it's not as much a surprise as it should be to some people, because he laid it all out. As you said, we went from Kevin Warden to Tony Petitti. Tony's a brilliant guy. He's clearly, right up there with Greg Sankey right now as the guy's leading all of college football. And yeah, this is really bad for Michigan, but it all started with this letter. This was the genesis of it, and I think people need to go back and familiarize themselves with it.
Yeah. Again, this paragraph struck me. I'm just going to read it directly from the letter, and this is a quote. It says, "Notably, the university," and this is Tony Petitti addressing Michigan's November 8th response, where they responded to the allegations that were brought forth, does not deny that the impermissible scheme occurred. Which, again, I think that's an important fact. And then it says, instead, it only offers procedural and technical arguments designed to delay accountability, which is insane. And then the university also argues that because it believes that others are engaged in decoding signs, there must be nothing wrong with the university's activities. In addition to impermissible activities of others being currently unsupported by facts, the university's culpability is not dependent on the actions of other institutions. Those assertions are more fully addressed in the sections below. So it's like, Michigan, again, it's like you have like a child writing the response to this. Like, well, he hit him, or he stole something, or he did whatever, so I'm allowed to do it. I mean, that's why, like, I can't believe that Ward Manuel has a job. After he had to sign off on that response, where it's like, well, we believe that other schools are stealing signs too. It's like, well, prove it. Show us evidence. Show us their Connor signs. Show us their their codes. And again, the stupidity of Connor signs is like, he acts like there's like this deep state network of sign decoders that all trade notes every week, and they all get together on their on their little text channel, or on their little talk channel, and they exchange everything with, I mean, show it to me, and again, like when Connor Stein says, well, I know the guy at Ohio State that does, like, name him, please. I mean, I'm sure Ryan would fire him instantly. If there was someone doing something as reckless and stupid as Connor Stallions was doing, like, there's no way Ryan Day would keep him. Because, like, why do you want to risk your job, your livelihood, your reputation, when you've already got the thing on rails? The reason why this happened with Jim Harbaugh is because his train was all the way off the track and flying off the cliff when all of a sudden Connor shows up and says, hey, I can, pick their signs and steal their signs and send stringers out to these games. And, again, this letter, and again, it was, it's on our X, or our Twitter. So it's very recent. So if you guys want to read the whole thing again, it's spectacular when you see how belligerent, I guess you could say, Michigan was when they're just, they're responding with babble and nonsense and saying, well, other people do it, so why can't we do it? And again, that's like, it's real easy to say, but prove it. Because I would say, if I'm Tony Petitti, I'd say, prove it. Show me Ohio State's guy. Show me your you getting their signals. Show me them sending people to all these games. And, because again, in the era of digital tickets, it's so hard to cover your tracks. It's really hard. I mean, again, like, especially, Connor wasn't exactly some genius when he's buying the tickets and transferring them. And, you got little intern film guys saying, hey, Connor wants me to drive to Athens, Georgia from Ann Arbor to go scout this game. I don't know if I can make it back in time. What should I do? And again, some of those guys, you got to understand, in a coaching vacuum, in that world where the money has just skyrocketed and the pressure has skyrocketed, because again, you have to win now or else you're done. Like, every young guy in every football building, whether it's Woody Hayes, Shem Beckler Hall, or whatever, They're trying to make it. They're trying to impress Ryan Day. They're trying to do anything that can impress him. But there is a line. There is a line. Again, there's a line, and sometimes you might think you're doing the right thing, and if someone has, they think that they have a good idea or good intentions, and then all of a sudden it just absolutely blows up in their face. It can get real bad real quick, and that was Connor Stallions. It was all these other idiots that were doing it, and they were trying to kind of fake their way up the ladder and climb the ladder in a way that was completely unethical. And it's something that in coaching, like it's a tough gig. I mean, these guys move a lot, they get fired a lot. At a place like Ohio State, if you're a coordinator, in 3 years, you're probably either going to be becoming a head coach or you're going to be getting fired. That's usually how it works, especially nowadays. So it's a different world. Or you might get a promotion like Chip Kelly and Jim Knowles got a little bit of a raise going to Penn State, but it's not a very permanent spot. So I just thought that rereading this, because again, I think Tony Petitti is very sharp. I think when you read it and then you read about how pointed this is, and it just calls back to the calls that were had between Petitti, between the Big Ten athletic directors, Sands Michigan, and the coaches too, because again, these coaches, their lives are on the line, like their livelihoods, not their actual lives, are not getting executed, but like this is a serious thing. And again, these guys were sloppy, they were stupid, and it's going to catch up to them in a major way. And again, if Tony Petitti is taking these guys to the woodshed, like what's the NCAA going to do? I mean, Tony Petitti, this isn't, he has to police the Big Ten, but this isn't necessarily something that he's expecting to do. He's not expecting that one of the 2 or 3 flagship schools does something this stupid, and he has to come out and admonish them and punish them in the middle of a season. I mean, I can't remember a time where an SEC commissioner or a previous Big Ten commissioner had to come out in the middle of the season and write something this pointed and terse at a member institution, let alone like one of the top 3 or 4 brands in your conference that are supposed to be the leaders and the best. So yeah, this was a spectacular letter. Again, I'm like you, because again, we study this stuff and we talk to people, and I just, I think a lot of people either hadn't read this or had forgotten about it. And I reread this thing. I was like, Jesus Christ. I mean, this is like having the Gray Sports Almanac, and you get to place a bet on something. Cause like you read this thing and all of a sudden you're just, holy cow, like this hammer is going to be coming. Cause again, you saw this. There's a lot of context clues, kids. When you look at this, you look at Connor Stallions and how he talked to the NCAA in his little 5-minute snippet that was in his documentary. I mean, horrific isn't a strong enough term for how that kid acted. And again, and then Jim Harbaugh just gives him the finger and walks out the door. And so did the rest of the staff. So again, not smart, not good. Nevada, what are your thoughts?
Well, again, this letter's just got it's chock full of so much goodness. It talks about um, how they were just the unprecedented nature of the conduct, how they were provided a very large detailed information, a large and detailed chart listing the names of various individuals assigned to attend past and future games. Similar in-person attendance assignments for past and future games involving highly ranked non-conference football opponents. Notation showing whether in-person attendance at non-conference games would be necessary. The 2023 schedules, the university schedule of football opponents, color coding to reflect past games actually attended by assigned individuals and future games for which individual assignments were still needed. I mean, it's crazy. I've said this is probably the best documented caper in the history of the NCAA. But I mean, when this stuff comes out, it's going to be unbelievable. They talked about reviewing photos and videos from the public domain that showed the staff member, the Connor Stallions, dressed similar to university coaches, standing adjacent to and communicating with coaches during games in time frames in which the impermissible scheme occurred. See, this goes right to the whole thing of, did this matter? Was this something that was important? Was this guy important to the coordinators, to the head coach? And this stuff, they didn't miss out on this. They didn't miss out on the fact that he was there, he was directing them, he was directing other staff members to go. This was a multi-year type of operation, and I still can't get over the fact. that the NCAA blew the whistle on this in the middle of an without completing the investigation, but in the middle of an investigation. Never heard that before. Never seen anything like that before. And the fact that the Big Ten felt compelled to hand out punishment in the middle of a national championship season by one of their flagship institutions is just amazing. And I said this on one of our previous podcasts, but if Michigan doesn't get the hammer with both barrels from the NCAA, then Tony Petitti should immediately resign, because he wrongfully hampered, their chances at a national championship in 2023 by stepping in with this thing when clearly it was unnecessary because the NCAA was not going to do anything. Well, I, I'm telling you, if you're a Michigan fan, go back and read this letter. Go back and ask yourself: has any of these facts changed in the past 18 months, or has it only gotten worse? What's not in this letter is stuff about all the things that happened subsequently in terms of Sharon Moore deleting texts, Chris Partridge, whatever Chris Partridge did he discourage people from talking? Did he hide evidence? Did he tell people not to talk to the NCAA? Connor Stallions had not interviewed yet with the NCAA and sat there and lied to the NCAA's face. Sat right there and said, I don't remember if that was me. That could have been me at Central Michigan. The Central Michigan head coach hadn't been fired. Jake Costner at Central Michigan hadn't been fired. I mean, there's so many things that have not happened yet when this letter went out. I mean, Harbaugh had not, skipped off to the thing. Clinkscale and Minter had not, accepted 5-year show causes. I mean, so this is all coming down. It's all hurtling down. But if you're unfamiliar with the caper, if you're not sure about the thing, go back and read the letter because the letter is the foundational piece for all this. The letter lays out so much information, about the people, the places, and the relevant items to the Big Ten and why the Big Ten was so angered by this that they had to step in and take action immediately even before the NCAA was done, even before the NCAA had a chance to exact their pound of flesh. And even despite the fact that they did that, the Big Ten said at the very end they reserved the right to throw more punishment on Michigan once the final investigation is completed. So if you haven't read the letter, go back and read it. Because I'm telling you, there's more good stuff in there. And if you're reading it and you're still feeling good about Michigan's chance, and you are really a true believer because the letter is absolutely damning for Michigan.
Yeah, it is. It is wild. And again, Connor Stallions and his little strategizing and his note taking and his, a lot of the stuff that he liked to do, his master spreadsheet and everything. It damned him. I mean, because again, this guy's got spreadsheets and color coding and scenarios where, okay, what game based upon wins and losses and who could make it into the 4-team playoff, what games do we need to scout? So again, I can't imagine how many hours you'd be taking to say, okay, well, if Missouri beats this team, then this team could move up into the top 4. And then we got to make sure we send someone to this game so that we can get their signals. Again, that's not a, hey, give me 15 minutes and let me go through it. It's like, well, no, who are we going to send to this game and where's it at and how many games can we get? Because again, when you're in too deep, because that's what this really boils down to is, these guys got to the point where they were just in too deep. And it's like, with Connor, when the entire program is based on you cheating, the accuracy of him stealing signs is everything. So he's got to have stringers at, certain games. And again, like the thing that blew the doors off this thing was, when TCU got wind of this and they changed all their signals going into the game. And so all of a sudden Michigan looked like a chicken with their head cut off out there because they didn't have the signs anymore. And you see Harbaugh looking at him and these coaches looking at him. So it's a tough spot, man. Because you at one point you're ultra valuable, but it's like in Superman 2 when he gave up his powers for Lois Lane, and all of a sudden he gets punched in the bar, he's bleeding all over the place. Like that's kind of what you turn into. Like, I mean, you can't fly in the air and spin the earth backwards and stop time. All of a sudden you're just immortal. And that's what happens when they change the signs on them. So yeah, this letter, again, they got it nailed. I mean, when it says that he's standing literally right next to, he's right next to the staff. They're deleting the photos of him standing next to the defensive coordinator, and it says the photo shows the coordinator focused on the field and the staff member, which is Connor Sines, looking intently in the direction of the opposing sideline. Which again, and then there was also a video of the staff member watching the opposing sideline during the November 26, 2022 Michigan game, Ohio State, and then gesturing to the Michigan defense in reaction to the signals being provided. The conference also reviewed a video of the staff member in the game against TCU standing shoulder to shoulder with the university's then defensive coordinator and talking to him intently or watching what's happening on the TCU sideline. And again, I challenge you. Yeah, again, you guys watch a lot of football. You guys are big football fans. Like, you show me when there's a big time coordinator, like a Brian Hartline, if Brian's down on the field. Show me like a big, Brent Venables when he was a coordinator at Clemson and he was like the TV darling that's on the, every 5 seconds they show him on thing. You show me an instance of an intern or a low level staffer talking to a coordinator the entire game, because it's impossible. It doesn't exist. Again, I always go back to thinking about Luke Fickell, who's our defensive coordinator when I worked there. And if some, low level intern was doing anything other than signaling, Luke would have killed him. If he was trying to talk to Luke while Luke's trying to get the personnel, read the difference, because you gotta remember, this is a pressure-packed moment. I mean, you have to get the signal in fast. First, you have to pick the defense. You have to figure out what's the personnel, who's in the game. Is it 2 tight ends? Is it 5 wide receivers? So you got to get that. Then you got to have the balls to figure out what color you're going to go with. Okay, are we going to heat them up? We're going to blitz them. We're going to play coverage. And you have like 20 seconds to do that. So it isn't like you can hit pause like you're playing Madden. So to have like a little like Geppetto right in your ear while you're doing that in that tight of a window versus a team like Michigan who could beat you if you make the wrong call, it just has never happened in the history of football. So again, that's the thing that's it's funny, but like the Big Ten had this whole thing nailed. And again, this is before all of the NCAA interviews. Like the NCAA, they sat down with Connor Stallions, they sat down with staff members, and I know most of them were just belligerent. They didn't talk at all, but it's stunning in my opinion. I think it's something that people just, you don't realize when you go back and read this, and this is before the full NCAA investigation, before the hearing, like the hammer is going to be so severe, again, because the Big Ten laid all this out and they didn't have anywhere near as much time as, the NCAA's had years, multiple years to go through the evidence and go through the discovery and go through, everything they could find. So like, I can't even imagine what they're going to come up with, because this is like when it was all fresh. So yeah, it's crazy. Nevada, any other thoughts? We're getting some super chats.
Well, yeah, there was one part that I thought I'm going to go to page, I think it's page 11 on the thing, to me this kind of sums up the whole thing. It says the university arguments. Hold on, I'm sorry, I lost up just for a second. It says, because in their response, Michigan was talking about the use of the sportsmanship policy and saying the purpose of the sportsmanship policy was something different than what Tony Petit is going to do here. And this is what was written: the university's arguments regarding the sportsmanship policy's purpose and traditional use also lack merit. The type and scope of the university's impermissible conduct at issue here is unprecedented. I mean, that's the whole point. The whole point is you can't look at, well, you've used the sportsmanship policy for this, you traditionally for or for that, that's been the traditional use for it. He says this is unprecedented. This has never been done before. So the types of punishment and the type of thing that you're going to get it's gonna match that. It's going to be unprecedented. So if you're looking to anything that the NCAA has done recently, other than the fact that the NCAA has been handing out pretty harsh penalties, but if you're looking for another one to try to say, well, on this one they did this, there is none, because there's nothing that's ever been done. Like, there's never been something like this, as audacious as this, as blatant as this, I'm not sure what word I can come up with, but it was just dumb. It was just dumb, but it worked. It worked. And people say, well, how could it work? How could it? Well, because nobody ever dreamed that somebody would just be this crazy to try to do this, because this could bring down your entire athletic administration, could bring down, ruin your brand, cost your head coach's job, cost people their careers in sports. But Connor Stalions did it. He flushed it all. And the fact that we're sitting here in June of 2025 talking about Connor Stalions and he's still a hero to the Michigan fan base is just disgusting, because the guy, he killed your program. He literally killed your program, and he is personally responsible for the hellfire that is going to come down on you guys from the NCAA for this unprecedented conduct. And you're still treating him like he's Audie Murphy, and he won the Medal of Honor twice or something like that. I mean, this is the howdy doody that you let run your stuff for the thing, and led your program to ruin. And we'll see if you guys are still celebrating him when the in the next 90 days, because I don't think it's going to be very funny at that point in time.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the funny thing to me is like Michigan fans treat this guy like he's some sort of a hero. And I'm like, I mean, like if someone did this to Ohio State, like like I don't, like the guys that have gotten us sanctioned in the past, like players or whatever, like I don't love those guys. I don't. I mean, it's just like one of those. I mean, anyone that's hurt the program in like a severe way, where we've had a bowl ban or we've had had to pay a penance.
Well,
Like I'm not.
That Robert Baker or whatever, that poor guy, the $500
Yeah,
handshake.
yeah,
What was that?
dude.
Yeah.
Robert Q Baker. I mean, he like went into exile. His wife divorced him. Like he goes by Bobby Baker now, and like it was over five. And again, I don't know if it was really $500, but they said it was a $500 handshake, and it's like, I mean, that guy got excommunicated. I mean, Bobby DiGeronimo got excommunicated. It's like there's like this because again, the thing about Ohio State, man, is they are quick to slice your head off, and they don't ask, they don't care. There's just this Goliath that's gonna run you over if it makes them feel better about themselves. Because like again, like Robert Q Baker is a good dude. So is Bobby DiGeronimo. Those are good dudes. So I mean, like I don't know, but I mean, like with the Connor stuff, like if we had a guy that did something like this that could get us sent to the Stone Age, like I mean, I just don't know how you celebrate this guy. I mean, I get Michigan athletics and like the biggest joke in history to me is like the notion of the Michigan man. That is the funniest. I mean, that's up there with like Theranos and Enron and Bernie Madoff. Like Michigan, it's the Bernie Madoff of college football. Like I mean, people, oh, he's a genius and he's the head of the SEC. And it's like, no, he's a crook. He's a thief. He's a scumbag. And he took down, billions of dollars worth of stuff. So that's what Michigan is. It's the Bernie Madoff of college football. I mean, completely fraudulent. But they claim they're virtuous, which is always, it's never not been hilarious to me that, again, I've gone through the year over year of guys that, that can barely read that tout, oh, I'm going to go get a Michigan education. I'm like, yeah, you're going to get that general studies degree and, you'll make as much as my fingernail clippings when I'm done. Because again, like they say, oh, I'm going to get into the Michigan business school. I'm like, no, you're not. It's like you're actually dumb enough to think that you are going to get into the Michigan business school. No chance. So again, it's always been a ruse with those guys, and they love to tout the degree. And again, Michigan, like let's be real, they have an excellent business school, but the football players aren't getting in there. There might be one on the team that's in there. The rest of them are in general studies or how to read tread tire training or whatever. So yeah, but I don't know. Like this is astounding. And again, this letter is great because again, this was with what, Nevada, a couple weeks of intel or a couple months maybe of recon and formulating everything. Like imagine what the NCAA has when they've had years to build the case. And again, they've got their top compliance guys leading this thing, basically like an arbitration. And it's I'd be terrified if I was Michigan right now. What are your thoughts?
Well, yeah. I mean, if you look at the timeline in there, and they talk about the timeline about when they first got the calls to NCAA, and I think that letter was written within 9 days of first hearing about this whole thing. So that's the result of 9 days. And now if you're Michigan, you're going after the NCAA has been after this for 19 months. So yeah, I would expect the NCAA case to be tight, a lot better documented, overwhelming, and damn it, and it really again it comes back to the core question that I've asked from the very beginning of this thing, which is if this was such a nothing burger, why hasn't Michigan settled it? Why, if this was such a nothing burger, why couldn't Michigan reach some sort of a negotiated resolution like 99.99% of every other case that goes for the NCAA? Why were they the one that had to take it all the way through to the trial? And you know, the most reasonable answer is because the NCAA wants their scalp. And I don't see any reason or have any information or anything that I've talked to or anybody that I've been talking to or people that are way closer to this than I am. Nobody thinks they're going to get away with it. So look, look. Well, I never say never in life because you're dealing with the jury and everything like that. But yeah, I think Michigan's cooked on this. But again, it all started with this letter. This letter was the foundational piece for it all, laid it all out, and again, people do well to familiarize themselves with it.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that the NCAA, they don't like to be played as a fool, And again, the compliance directors that are running this thing, they're sharp, and you know I go back to consistently, like, again, we saw the 5-minute snippet in the Stallions documentary. It's the only good part of the entire documentary because the rest of it was just, stupidity and how deep it was and how insane his family is and how, insane he is and his manifesto is just a bunch of babble and gibberish. But how he acted in that 5-minute clip where they hold up the photo of him and he's like, well, I don't know who that is. I mean, I've been to a lot of football games. I don't know if that's, I don't even think that looks like me. And I'm just like, holy, like, I mean, I couldn't imagine being his attorney and sitting next to him. And he's like, well, I don't know. It could be anybody. I don't know. I mean, like, dude, like, you're dead. I mean, Jim McElwain got fired because of you. That whole staff got fired because of you, So, again, they thought it was going to be cool and smart, and it wasn't. I mean, if I'm Jim McElwain, that costs Jim McElwain like $2.5 million that he had some idiot on his staff let a Michigan coach on his sideline and dressed him up with Ray-Ban Meta spy glasses and a Central Michigan polo. I mean, like, I couldn't imagine if I'm Jim McElwain and I'm walking on the sideline and I see Connor Steins, who he knew from Michigan. Again, like when you're in that little tiny football building, again, it looks like a big sprawling Schembeckler Hall, but like you really get to know those guys in that building because there ain't nobody in the city that spends more time together than the guys in that football building. Same with the Woody Hayes. Like, I mean, them interns and them coaches, and I mean, especially the coaches and interns. I mean, they are in that thing from 7 a.m. to about 10 p.m. for half the year. And it's like, you really know everybody. So Jim McElwain sees Connor Steins on the sideline in his little, Central Michigan getup. I would have lost my mind and I would have fired the guy on the sideline because, again, that cost him $2.5 million just because he's stupid and he hired stupid people. And that guy, I mean, I don't know where he's at now, but hey, it's tough, man. All right, Super Chats, WB Buckeye, thanks for the 10. Brandon Moses and Funky were talking last night about how the Big Ten was going to allow Michigan State to opt out of the 2023 game with the team up north. If Michigan State had opted out, would that have cost Michigan the title? Nevada, I'm not sure on that. If Michigan State would have opted out of the 23 game, would that have cost them the title? I think it probably would have. But what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I'd have to. I mean, I don't think so because what that would have been a no contest or something like that. Like the game didn't happen. It'd be like one of those COVID games. So I mean, Michigan still would have been undefeated going into the Big Ten championship game against Iowa, and so I don't think so. I don't believe it would have, because I think that would have just been a no con. I think they would have just had one less game. It would have been a canceled game. But that's just my take on it.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that that's something that it would have just had one less win on Michigan's schedule. They were still undefeated, so it would have been, they still would have made it, I believe. Ian Bates, thank you for the 5. In the mall today, and a group of kids were emulating JJ, aka Jeremiah Smith, talking about how perfect his routes are. I live in DC. That kid is a rock star like we've never seen before at Ohio State. Yeah, I mean, JJ is the perfect cocktail of the fact that he's the most talented player in Ohio State history. His work ethic is completely insane. I mean, he is a machine. He doesn't go out. He doesn't party. You never see him on Instagram. Like, you'll see him doing anything except training, working out in the dead of the night, running routes at the Woody Hayes. And he happened to catch a lightning bolt with the fact that, as a true freshman, he won a national title. So, again, if you want to talk about, because I was thinking about, like Ted Ginn mania was crazy too. But, Ted's freshman year, we were 8-4. We kind of sucked. And he really came on in the middle of the season. But the biggest thing, with JJ is, when you get down to that nitty gritty of the playoffs, you get down to the final 8, the final 4, the final 2, like there's no other football on. Like when I was with Ted, I mean, obviously we played in the Michigan game, which was one of his coming out parties. He had that big return. But, we played in the Alamo Bowl, which was, I mean, I guess we were the only thing on, but it was a crappy bowl game. And we had a blast. We beat the crap out of Oklahoma State. And that was kind of Ted's coming out party because we had him playing quarterback and running reverses and everything else. But that ain't the stage that JJ, because JJ, he had a longer season and he had four premier games in a row for the entire world to watch. Because obviously the Ohio State Tennessee game was the marquee game of the first round. The whole world watched that night game in the shoe, and JJ, sets it off with that touchdown. Then you get to the Oregon game where he just absolutely dominates and destroys everything in his path. Then you get to the Texas game where, again, they were not going to let JJ win. They're going to double him and play another safety over top of him. Then you get to the title game where he wins it. Will Howard, the guy that can't throw a deep ball, according to the dumbest human beings that follow Ohio State and write on Ohio State message boards, throws a perfect deep ball to JJ to ice the national championship. So again, I think I do agree with you that we've never seen anything like JJ, not this early, not as a true freshman, wins the national title. Yeah, I mean, just absolute insanity out of that kid. Nevada, again, we could talk about Eddie at the end of his Heisman and Troy, his Heisman run, but like JJ being an 18-year-old and doing what he did is like, I don't know if we'll ever see anything like that again. What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't know. We haven't talked about this, but did you see the Will Howard? I don't know if it was an Instagram thing or a YouTube short or something. Will Howard with the kids and the kids football thing. Did you see that, Kirk?
Was it at his camp that he had at Pickerington this past weekend? I did
I
not
think it
see
might have
it.
it might have been at a camp, but he was like the kids. He's like go to the end zone, and the kids like yeah, like JJ Smith and catch it one handed. And he's like, you're not JJ Smith, kid. I mean,
Yeah,
it was such
use both
it
hands,
was
please.
it was such a great thing. It was just so funny. But first of all, Will Howard is the goat. The fact that it wasn't to me the fact that he threw the perfect pass to win the national championship. It was the fact that Chip Kelly and Ryan Day, with their entire careers on line, called the play. They put it on the back of Will Howard to throw an exact 42.5 yard pass to JJ Smith to win the national championship. So they knew he could spin it. But yeah, no, JJ's a freakazoid. And that's why, I don't want to get too far past. I'm 62 years old, so I don't want to get too far past myself with future seasons. But look, we're going to be getting 25, but in 26, JJ is going to be a junior. So I don't even know what he's going to do at that point in time. And Julian saying he'll have his second year throwing to him, but he is he's something special. Never seen anything like him before. He came in with more hype than maybe any freshman receiver for sure. And I think he surpassed it. I think he whatever hype we had for him, he was better than we said he was. And that's really saying something because it's usually a function of, as they say, disappointment's a function of expectation, but he surpassed all my expectations and best wide receiver I've ever seen at Ohio State.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's basically he's LeBron James. Like, I mean, we've never seen anything like LeBron coming through high school and then number one pick and then actually delivering on the expectations in terms of, becoming the second best player of all time behind Jordan, in my opinion. And a guy that's scoring leader and champions and everything else. But yeah, I just think that, JJ, it's not just, obviously his physical ability is amazing. And again, it's amazing he got cut from the Miami Garden Ravens, which again, it was funny when he told the story and he didn't even know what cut meant. And so they told him he got cut and then he turned into this monstrous werewolf worker and didn't want to feel feeling good. And again, I think that's a great story to tell kids. I'm like, look, like there's going to be a time along the line where you get cut from a team or whatever. And, you can turn up after that and you can, go prove them wrong. And somewhere there's some guy sitting in some bar saying, yeah, when I coached Pee Wee football and JJ Smith was in second grade, I cut him off my team. And so it's like, and again, that's fine. Again, like Michael Jordan got, made JV as a sophomore instead of varsity or whatever. And it happens. And honestly, I think that sometimes that sparks guys. I don't think it's a bad thing. So, but he's just, it's not just his ability, his abilities. His ceiling's best receiver to ever play football, but his makeup, his humility, he's not a party guy. He's not he again, like, because some of these kids, man, if they have what JJ's been handed, and again, he's making seven figures and he's got, they'd be going crazy. But JJ is a very locked in dude, and again, he's got a great focus group around him, which is led by his agent Chaffee Fields, who played at Penn State, and also Geno Smith, who signed a $40 million year deal with the Raiders. That's his cousin. So again, it helps when the path has been laid. And Geno was a guy that coming into his draft, people thought he might be the first pick overall. And he slid to the second round, fired his agent, but he didn't quit, and he was kind of, I guess, lackluster with the Jets, but he's really turned it on with the Seahawks. He was really good, and then Chip Kelly and Pete Carroll invested, I think it was a 3-year deal for 120 or 100. I mean, it was a huge deal for kind of an older quarterback. So I think that all of that helps JJ and his mentality. Because again, he's, his cousin is a big time NFL guy. So it's not like it's, the path isn't clear. And I've talked a lot about how with Caleb Downs, his dad played in the league for 10 years. And his brother is a superstar for the Colts. A guy that you should draft in your fantasy leagues, because I think that he's going to be a star this year, and he's a really talented, good player. So, success leaves clues, and I think that JJ's got a good enough structure around him with the South Florida Express guys and Chaffee Fields that it's going to be he's going to be in good shape going forward. I appreciate you, Ian. Thank you, brother. But that's a great antidote, and I'm glad that the kids. See again, when there's a guy like JJ. This will sound stupid and silly, and you guys are going to roll your eyes, but like a guy like him only helps our recruiting, because there's going to be this whole generation of kids that are in 5th grade that are going to play the video game, and they're going to play as Ohio State because they want to play as JJ, and they want to play as, whoever, James Peoples, whatever. And that's going to help us. And I know that sounds stupid, but you got to understand, like when I was in recruiting, there were kids that said, yeah, man, I became an Ohio State fan because I liked using Terrell Pryor on the video game or Troy Smith on the video game. Because like when your team's always good on the video game, then you get these young fans that are impressionable and they want to play with a good team, and JJ is going to be a 99 overall. And again, I know that sounds crazy, but I thought it was crazy until I heard kids consistently say something like that, where they're like, yeah, Ohio State's my team because I used to beat my friends up on the video game with JJ and Carnell Tate, whatever. So let's throw that out there. Francis Plum, thanks for the 7. Is anyone looking at the used vacuum selling operation? This is great. Who really buys that? It's a big way to launder money and then gambling. Nevada, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, look, there are people looking at it. I think it's super weird. I don't know if it's to launder money for gambling. I've always thought it was to launder money to get money so they could pay for this scheme. I thought that's what this was. I thought that's what the whole cover was, because I haven't met any person that can credibly talk about ever having purchased a used vacuum cleaner. It's just not this type of item that lends itself to buying used, because they're so inexpensive new. So I'm not really sure where the marginal benefit is of buying the used reconditioned vacuum cleaner. So yeah, I agree. Super weird story. Do I think that's the angle in terms of gambling? I don't think so, but I don't know. But I agree with you 100%. Super weird. It was laundering something, and I'm not sure what it was, but it was super weird.
Well, like my thing is, if I'm Blake Corum, and mind you, like these kids have never been smarter about how they move in terms of this new era of NIL, because these guys all have agents now. They have money managers, they have accountants, like they have a whole team around them. Like this is like when I played 10 million years ago. like we weren't allowed to have an agent. I mean, we would all talk to an agent because, again, like if you're serious about the process, you probably have a good idea of who your agent's going to be going into the season. But you didn't actually have an agent that was actually making money off of you. Like these guys, like they've got agents that they're making 3 or 5% off of their deals right now. Marketing deals, or some guys taking 20% if it's big enough. But the like for Blake Corum to get into an LLC with Connor Stallions, and it is Blake Corum's used vacuums or whatever. Like Connor had to have pitched it as like, hey, bruh, I'm just going to use you and your name, and we're going to sell these vacuums. I'll do all the work. Because again, most of these kids, like when these kids are star players, like Blake Corum was like an All-American running back. Like he's not going to be out there on the porch cleaning vacuums and sending them to UPS to ship them on the Amazon truck or whatever. Like, I mean, Connor's like, hey, dude, I'm going to use your name. It's going to be great. All these Michigan fans are going to buy used vacuums from us. And I'm just going to use your name, but I'm going to give you your cut. You're going to get half the profits and I'll keep half and blah, blah, blah. And Blake was probably like, yeah, man, that sounds great. You make an extra 2, 3, 4, 5,000, like whatever he was promised. Cause when these guys are making serious NIL money, like they're not going to move for less than a couple grand a month. If you say, hey, it's just money in your account, you don't have to do anything. I'm gonna use your name. But again, like Blake Corum had to agree to that, and he had to agree to be on this LLC, which again, I still have no idea how this has been investigated more because, again, as we've talked about, like with an LLC, you either have to agree to be in the LLC or it's a felony. Like I can't list Elon Musk as our co-owner in Buckeye Scoop in case like we go to get it valuated or Genie Bus or any other billionaire and say, hey, look, we've got this great ownership group. Like it's a felony, so the fact that Blake Corum was on that and people have just kind of glossed over it. Like to me, that shows you how insane Connor Stallions is, because Connor Stallions literally is jeopardizing the eligibility of the best player on the entire team to make a couple $1,000s selling vacuums. And that's again in his wackadoo modeling where he's like, well, I can sell this many and Michigan fans will buy it just to be part of Blake Corum and blah, blah, blah. Like there had to have been some sort of, crazy number that he was throwing at these guys. Cause it's not like, hey, I'm going to make $300 this month on selling vacuums and I'll give you $150. And like Blake Corum ain't signing up for that. I mean, Connor cooked up some scheme and, but again, I'm with you.
But Kirk, I mean, look, listen to it. I mean, Connor Stallions either committed a felony, as you mentioned, or Blake Corum lied about it. But which is the party line for Michigan is that Blake Corum didn't know anything about it because he would have been ineligible had he known anything about it. So Connor Stallions committed a felony, yet we still allow him around the program. Connor Stallions, who committed a felony at the expense of our star player, our touchdown leader, who almost cost us the national championship, is still being welcomed around the program and treated as a hero around the program, despite committing a felony. That make sense to me.
Well, no, I mean, that's why I'm saying, like, I mean, to me, like, Urban Meyer had a great role. And again, and I love this role. Like, you guys know I love Urban Meyer. And he said, look, if you're a coach and you're out at a bar, downtown Columbus, or you're out at somewhere and you see a group of players come in, you leave. You're here to be a coach. You're not here to be their friend. You're not here to go out, fraternizing, buying shots, drinking with the players. Like, you get away from them as fast as possible. Let them have their fun. You leave. So again, that was like, like Urban didn't want us fraternize. The moral of this is that Urban, you're not there to be their buddies. Now, again, if the coaches have them over for a team building barbecue or something, that's different. That's, 3:00 in the afternoon and come over for a couple, some city barbecue or some Chipotle or whatever. And then everybody go home at 6 and whatever. But that's how strict Urban was. He's like, I don't want to see any of you guys around the players, out with the players, photos with the players, in the nightlife scene. So again, if Urban Meyer would have found out that one of his interns started a LLC with Braxton Miller, he would have lost his mind and you'd have been fired immediately. I mean, I wouldn't even you wouldn't even think to do something that stupid. But then when you get into the compliance and the eligibility, And again, obviously that was pre NIL, but even if it was like today, like if Ryan Day had found some intern was doing a deal with JJ Smith to run there's just no way you're gone, because again, it's a different world. So I think that it was some sort of a laundering operation. I mean, that's just because I can't make sense of it any other way. Because like you said, like a new vacuum cleaner is like a couple $100. So how much are you going to save buying some old dirty, crusty vacuum cleaner that, again, the thing that's magnificent about Connor Sirens is like the homeowners association came after us because he had 50 dirty vacuums on his front porch. So they were suing him. And then the Amazon reviews from the Connor Sirens Blake Corum vacuum depot were just like 1 star, sent me a used vacuum that was still dirty and still had the crust in it. I mean, it was just like magnificent reading the receipts on this thing. But yeah, I'm with you. Like I said, I think if you, and again, this is the level of insanity we're dealing with Connor Sirens. He literally risked the best player on the team to do some sort of a facade with this vacuum thing. And again, I don't know how, and again, it'll be interesting to see when this ruling comes out, because that LLC, man, that is, that's some treacherous stuff. If you have the balls to do a company where you're not even going to make that much money, if you make any money, or if you're just trying to launder money, and you're going to tie our star player into it, like it's just insane. Nevada, any thoughts? And can we go to the next?
No, just like I said, the idea that that's just been glossed over by the media and people aren't inquisitive about the fact that this guy committed a felony and put his name on there, I find crazy. But I know people are still digging that. I'm still hopeful that something comes of that, because that was one of the weirder uh corollaries in this story that's never really been told, and it's a wild one.
Yeah, it's yeah, I'm with you. I'm like, why like again, why does Ward Manuel still have a job? I'm like, you have interns under your head coach starting companies with your star player, and
Lack of institutional control.
Jesus, it's like, all right. Tom Gumbar likes to do this. Got my new Nike black scoop hat. Love it. Nevada OH.
I
Again, any of you guys that got gear, tag our official Buckeye Scoop Twitter. It's at Buckeye Scoop, one compound word, and we will retweet it because I love seeing you guys rocking this stuff. And Jessie Davin, her dad's got one of I did that black logo. I love that. Like it looks so fresh and so clean. And my hoodie's gonna be here tomorrow. I can't wait to wear it. So again, rock your scoop gear. I want to see you guys wearing it. Show me the creative places you wear it. Again, it's perfect for summer vacation. A lot of you guys like to go to Florida, Myrtle Beach, Outer Banks, wherever. I mean, I hang out at my house. Like it's my vacation, but I wear scoop gear every day. I mean, you guys see I have 20 of these hoodies. So, and I got my little scoop on the hood, which, when people see me behind, they can always see the Buckeye Scoop logo nice and fresh. But I'm glad you guys like it. We'll reopen the store probably in 2 weeks. I talked to the guy that runs our printing department because I know a lot of people missed out and they're disappointed. And when you guys see the national championship hoodies that we got, especially I got the Carhartt one, just a fantastic looking product. The gold fleck paint is just incredible. So we'll reopen the store in a couple weeks. Nevada again. Tom says he loves his Nike black scoop hat. Any thoughts?
Well, look, I am the toughest critic when it comes to gear, because I have a lot of gear from all the different schools that my kids go to and everything else like that, and 99% of it is garbage. It just is. I'll just say it's just garbage. This stuff that we put out is not garbage. It is really, really, really good stuff. So if it wasn't, honestly, I wouldn't shill it. I wouldn't. The amount of money that we're making on this for pay it forward on the gear, it's nominal. We don't make much money on this, but we love seeing people wearing the gear, and we're really proud of the gear because it's really good stuff. So if you want good stuff at a reasonable price, we've got it reasonably priced for you, and you're supporting pay it forward, so it's a win-win-win. But yeah, glad you like the gear because I sure like it as well.
Yeah, I mean, like that's our thing is like I'd rather you guys, we keep our prices pretty in line with like what Ohio State does, and again, some of the stuff like the blanks like the Carhartt blanks are expensive, so it's like but I really like the Carhartt hoodies. I think that they make the best hoodie of any brand that I've worn. Durable, comfortable, but we want to make sure that our stuff is quality, just like our show is, just like our website is. because we want you guys to wear it. Because if we send you some, you know, some shirt that isn't, high value or it doesn't look right with the printing, you guys are going to wear it. But when you guys get it and it's really high quality stuff, then you guys will rock it all over the place. And I love seeing you guys wear it. I mean, like I said, I wear Buckeye Scoop stuff every single day. Like I'm meeting with Governor DeWine and Coach Trussell tomorrow, Lieutenant Governor Trussell tomorrow. I am wearing a Buckeye Scoop polo. So you can, even when I'm meeting with, the governor of Ohio, I will be Buckeye Scoop head to toe. I promise you, because again, that's what it means to myself and also Nevada and Funky and B Moses and Bill Greene and the whole crew. That we love rocking our gear everywhere we go, and it's like I said, it's fresh, it's good looking stuff, and it's a brand that we love and we know you guys love, and it's always cool to have something that's a little bit different from just the traditional Ohio State stuff, because it's it says Buckeye in it, but it's a little bit different, and it kind of narrows you down to the best of the best, which is what this site is and the Scoop family is, and we just appreciate you guys. D Sonny, what is up, brother? I hope you're doing great. Thank you for the live. It says, who do you think the biggest loser is from the Michigan scale? D Sonny, dude, you bring the heat, man. Your questions are always fantastic. I appreciate you. It would be Jim McElwain, since he lost his job for just doing a favor. Nevada, I'll let you go first in this because this is a great question.
Well, I mean, look, yeah, Jim McElwain lost a multi-million-dollar job at Central Michigan over this, and I mean, Jake Costner lost his entire career. Young guy, not a lot of people think about it. His career's over in college football right now, over this stupidity with Connor Stallion. I think the biggest loser has just been the Michigan brand. The Michigan brand will forever be associated with cheating. It will ever come with that asterisk, and I don't think it's ever going to recover. I don't. Not in my lifetime. It won't. I think people will always. And this is before the NCAA decision is reached. Before it's all documented and put out. Once people can read all this stuff and they see it in black and white, and the national stories start running with it, um, yeah, I think the Michigan brand's been the loser, but no, McElwain's is as good a pick as anybody for this because coaches don't retire at 62 when they're in the middle of a contract at a place like Central Michigan that's going to pay you a couple $1 million a year. You take that money, you put it away. You don't pull that Mark D'Antonio hates his grandkids thing and never going to come back. You don't do that. You take the money, you hang in there, you keep coaching. So yeah, some people. I mean, Central Michigan. The funny thing is, yeah, they're the ones that have paid the heaviest price so far because Michigan's refused to really punish anybody on this thing. And Central Michigan got it just for having Stallions there. So what's Michigan gonna get? It's gonna be bad.
Yeah, I mean, McElwain's got to be up there. I mean, if I lost 2.5 million because and again, that's the thing we don't know is we don't know what Jim McElwain knew. We know that he got fired. And again, they said that 62-year-olds don't retire from coaching. I mean, you're gonna leave a million and change a year for 2 years, guaranteed money behind. It's impossible. It's never happened. And again, like a guy like Jim McElwain, I mean, if he spins it up and does some work at a place like Central Michigan, like I mean, he could get back in the tumbler for being a head coach at a real shot. I mean, he had a shot at Florida, he went to Colorado State, Florida, both didn't work out. But there's this pattern right now where, MAC coaches are getting, looks as high end coordinators, again, we looked at Jason Candle. He was up for the Ohio State OC job. And, some of these guys that are in the MAC, like if you jump to, a big time school, and again, you got to remember, this is Nick Saban's offensive coordinator when they were really good, which led to him getting the Colorado State job and then the Florida job. But I mean, that's, he's got another 10 years where he could have made another, I don't know, 15 to $40 million, depending on, how he does. But I mean, at a minimum, he's making 2.5, which again, when you're 62 and he's been coaching for 40 years, the last 10 years, it's like the bonus multiplier for coaching salaries. Like, I mean, and the money's literally gone up between 8 and 10 times across the board. At the major schools, the lowest paid guy on Urban's first half, which was Zach Smith, he made 150 grand his first year plus bonuses. And then now the lowest paid guy makes $600,000. I mean, that's 4X the very bottom. The very top, Brian Hartline's making 2.5 million. as a coordinator. And in Urban's first year, I think Tom Herman made 450. So I mean, that's 6x, and plus bonuses and everything else. So I mean, Brian's probably close to 3 million, and so I mean, that's the same thing I always say with Larry Johnson. People are like, well, Larry Johnson's got one foot in the grave and he's done. I'm like, dude, he's making $1 million to coach the defensive line. I've said that a million times, you guys, but like that's serious money. And he's got the rooms loaded up, and he's got and the funny thing is the job's never been easier because he's got like 3 young defensive line, coaches that are making, they're not GAs, they're making real money, and they can help him recruit. So it's like it's never been a sexier profession. And, Jim Tressel had a great interview with Trent Dilfer the other day, and he talked about how, when he was getting into coaching, he applied to be the GA at Akron, the graduate assistant, and he got the job because nobody else applied for it. And so it's like, dude, like if you're like, if you're modern times and Akron has a GA, there's going to be 500 kids applying to it. Let alone a place like Ohio State where 1,000 kids are going to apply to it. And, a lot of times it's locked down by, a friend of Ryan Day or a friend of whoever, maybe like a Toby Wilson type who'll just slide right in from being a former player. But those spots are coveted now just because of the way that the profession has just risen in not just prestige, but, compensation. So, yeah, but I would say Jim McElwain for sure. Just because, that's he probably like I don't know what he knew. Like, did he know that Connor was going to be there, or did one of his assistants just kind of hoodwink him and say, "Hey, dude, I'll get you a pass and slide you a shirt, and we'll get you on the field"? And because to me, that feels like that's how it went down. It feels like the coach didn't ask Jim McElwain for permission, but it's under Jim McElwain's umbrella. And if Jim McElwain saw him in the locker room or in pregame warmups or on the sideline, like, he's got to say something. So again, Central Michigan doesn't have like a 7,000 person support staff like Ohio State. So you pretty much know everybody that's there, but it's my opinion. Great question, D Sunny. Jamie Coburn, appreciate you. All right. Thanks for the 5. I'm interested on how the team at North will cope after the hammer drops. Also want to shout out Kirk and Nevada for their work on Scoop, Nevada OH. Nevada, your thoughts?
Well, yeah, yeah. How are they going to cope once the hammer drops? You know what they're going to do? They're going to scream NCAA overreach. They're going to scream that nobody could have possibly seen this coming because this was not mentioned. Nobody ever mentioned this, and they couldn't have known. Um, and they're gonna cry and whine together. But I think it's all laid out pretty simply. We talked at the top of the show about the letter from Tony Petitti kind of laying out this whole thing. There's been foreshadowing. There's been signs all along the way. The fact that Michigan hasn't been able to reach a negotiated resolution on this case should be a screaming, a flashing warning sign for any Michigan fan. Kind of go, I wonder why we haven't been able to reach a negotiated resolution. Why, people at Clinkscale did, Mentor did, every other school in the world did, Arkansas did, Arizona State did. Um, you know, they've all reached negotiated resolutions, but somehow, some way, Michigan couldn't get it over the line. So yeah, I think it's going to be. I think they're going to be going back to being irrelevant because I don't think very much of Sharon Moore. I think these punishments are going to be incredibly harming to their existing program staff and roster. And when you combine that with a weak head coach, almost zero national recruiting base, I think Michigan's going to slide back. I think they'll be regularly the 5th, 6th best team in the Big, and that's where I think they're going to be.
Yeah, I agree with that. Jamie, again, I appreciate you for the kind of words or you shout us out. Again, this is something that we work hard on. Again, this isn't a joke to us. We want to bring a really nice show every night for you guys, and we appreciate you guys tuning in. And Nevada and I mean, there's some days where we got to rack our brains to come up with a topic, and there's some days where it's very apparent what we're going to talk about. But we always want to bring the heat and have a good show for you guys because I know you guys look forward to it. And we really love the interaction in the community. Again, our chat is insane. It's incredible how awesome it is. So those of you that are listening to this on Apple Podcasts or on a stream, consider watching us live on YouTube because our YouTube crowd is incredible and chatting I know that our chat is always lit and fun, so I appreciate all of the ringleaders of the chat. You guys know who you are. You guys are the best. But yeah, I think that, Michigan fans are just so, they're just so dumb that it's just really tough because when you have people that celebrate, Connor Stallions, it's kind of like, people that celebrate terrorists when they kill something or blow something up. It doesn't make any sense. And you can't rationalize with people that are dumb. So I'm sure that they'll say that it was overreach and everything else. But I'm like, guys, like, what do you expect? Like, I mean, if Ohio State did this, and again, you guys know I love Ohio State, and I love our coaching staff, I love our players, and I help those guys out as much as humanly possible, get them NIL deals, everything else. But like, if Ryan Day, if Keenan Bailey was Connor Stallions and he was doing something this stupid, and Ryan Day didn't stop it, like I would feel some type of way because again, you're jeopardizing the entire trajectory of the program for doing something this stupid. Which again, with Connor, there's this magnificent trail of electronic information and spreadsheets, and he's on the sideline on video. I mean, it's just like it's the bloody fingerprint, the bloody shoe print, the smoking gun, the bullet casings, um, you know, surveillance camera. It's everything you'd ever want, and it's just like it's just so stupid when you look back at it. Like but again, they were so desperate that that's what it came to. Again, Jim Harbaugh was stinking it up, and again, Ward Manuel gave him a 50% pay cut, and Michigan's got hundreds of millions of dollars laying around. They said, "Well, you've been so bad that we're going to cut your salary from 8 million to 4 million this year." So Jim Harbaugh knew what was up. He was about to be getting fired. If someone cuts your salary in half and puts you on a performance plan, like what you guys that have been working any job ever, if you go and your boss says, "Hey, you ain't doing too hot. We're gonna make you work for half as much money," like what time it is. So when Jim Harbaugh saw a potential way to cheat, I mean, he's desperate. And again, we know that he's a liar. We know that he's delusional. And so when this scheme popped up, he's probably like, "Well, yeah, I mean, anything to get up out of here," which he did. Which again, I can't believe that he is not going to face any sort of repercussions in the NFL, but that's the shield, baby. That's the Los Angeles market. Because I'm just like, how in the universe you suspend Jim Tressel, but you're not going to suspend Jim Harbaugh for cheating the way you did? Beth and Karis, thanks for the 5. Thanks for being an Ultra member, and thanks for being a great moderator as well, keeping our chat nice and clean. Appreciate you. Will the Big Ten punish the team up north after the NCAA comes out with theirs? What are your thoughts, Nevada? I mean, I think that the NCAA thing will be pretty comprehensive, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it ultimately just depends on what the NCAA does. If the NCAA does, 50% of what I think they're going to, I think the Big Ten will probably be done with Michigan. Other than the fact that I've always believed and always been led to believe that what the NCAA was going to do was not recognize um, titles, and that it was going to be ultimately up to the Big Ten to remove the Big Ten titles away from Michigan for those years. And I think that they'll take that action. I think they'll remove the Big Ten titles away for 21, 22, and 23. And then ultimately it'll be up to the College Football Playoff Committee to remove the national championship in 23. So I think those will be the subsequent actions. But I think the NCAA is going to come down with a comprehensive enough punishment that it doesn't leave a lot of room or need for the Big Ten to get involved beyond stripping the titles.
Yeah, I mean, once they drop a nuclear bomb, like you don't need to show up with like a water balloon after that thing gets dropped. There's not gonna be anything left. So that's gonna be the course of action. And I think the NCAA is gonna absolutely destroy these guys. Because again, like you see what the Big Ten came up with, and this is 2.5 years ago. The NCAA has been compiling stuff for years to make this a very thorough investigation, and it's gonna get ugly. Roy McLeod, thanks for the 5. Thanks for being an Ultra member as well. Is there a deadline by which the NCAA has to notify Michigan if they will lose eligibility for 2025? Nevada, do you have any thoughts on that?
I don't know exactly, how that, I mean, again, you understand they could do it mid-season. They could come if the pun. I think Charlie Baker was recently quoted, even though he's very tangentially involved in the process. The Michigan people are kind of hanging out every word from him like it's the gospel, like he's the guy, the straw that stirs the drink, and he's just the head of the organization. He was briefed on the hearing and said that he expected that there would be a decision rendered within 30 to 90 days. So, that puts you firmly into what, August, something like that, and August, September. So I don't think there's a deadline per se for them to disqualify, or frankly for Michigan to self-impose a bowl ban. But now Michigan tried to do some little half measures before the hearing to show the NCAA that they were taking this seriously by, like, restricting their number of recruiting days on the road, having suggesting a two-game, not the first two games, mind you, but a hand selected games 3 and 4 for Sharon Moore to do it. And I think that backfired spectacularly with them, because it just showed that they're not taking the process seriously. But I would expect 30 to 90 days. It all should be handed down, and we'll see where we go from there.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, I think that the deadlines are going to be it'll be fluid, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with 25 if there's a bowl ban this year. But it'll be it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be an interesting 90 days, and I just can't wait. And then we have the Weiss stuff coming down the pike next, which will be absolutely outstanding. So Nevada, let's wrap this thing up. Any final thoughts? Great show.
No, a great show. Again, we talked out the throat by saying, "Hey, help us out, subscribe." We're going to 40,000 YouTube subscribers, so hit that subscribe button. Absolutely free. Send it to people that you know. Absolutely free. Subscribe to the channel, and let's get to 40,000.
Yeah, that is the goal, and we appreciate you guys as always. Thank you guys for being a huge part of our show. Again, your likes are always appreciated on your way out the door. Click that thumbs up. It's a huge way to grow this show. Give us a follow on Apple Podcasts. Again, I've been saying that if you have an iPhone, it literally takes less than 20 seconds to get on your podcast app, type in Buckeye Scoop, click subscribe. That's all you have to do. Super easy. And it's a huge help for us. Leave us a 5-star review. You don't even have to put any words in. You just click on the 5 stars, and it's like rating your Uber or your Yelp or your DoorDash or whatever. But I just appreciate you guys kind of heeding the call. Again, it's strength in numbers. And, if you want to really support us, you could put our YouTube link on your Facebook, on your Instagram, wherever, LinkedIn. I mean, I put them on all of them, and people, they magically find it, and they end up subscribing to it. So again, it's been an incredible jump over the last few weeks. So thank you for all of you guys that have followed us. But we just appreciate you guys so very much. Again, this is the best part of our day. We love spending it with you guys, and we love hearing these fantastic questions. These go to Pay It Forward. Again, to be eligible for Pay It Forward, you have to be a police officer, firefighter, active military, retired military, paramedic, first responder. It gives you a concierge access to BuckeyeScoop.com, which is our message board, which, again, we always say, if you like the show for the hour that we do it a day, hour and change, the message board is where we're at the rest of the day. And the message board is incredible. I mean, our recruiting team is just crushing it right now. The latest intel on who's visiting, who was at the 7-on-7 camp today, who's camping tomorrow. We've got great people doing that right now. We just appreciate you guys so much, as always, for subscribing to BuckeyeScoop.com for your comprehensive Ohio State football experience. So with that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. Talk to you guys tomorrow. I can't wait to see you guys at 7:10. Might be a little later because I got that thing with the governor, but I appreciate you guys so very much. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Go Bucks.